Hey Taurus, welcome to October 2020. I am not pulling an archetype this month. They were big energies, and I'm using my Mystic Mondays deck. Let's just dive in. Okay, we got the Ten of Pentacles in reverse, the Princess of Cups upright, Seven of Pentacles in reverse, Six of Pentacles upright, Eight of Wands in reverse, Temperance in reverse, and the Empress, rather. Okay. So, I feel like, overall, the general vibe I'm getting right now is sort of like this overall sense to me of a lack of faith in your forward movement. That's just sort of my vibes. Because we got this Eight of Wands in reverse. And we got the Seven of Pentacles in reverse. And we got the Empress. So kind of what I'm feeling off the bat is like, you're like, okay, I planted my seeds, I did my harvest, I put in the work, I nurtured everything, I watered them, I looked at the conditions of the environment and put them in sunlight, but nothing's happening. And here I am in this like Empress position of like waiting to receive the fruits of my labor, but with this Eight of Wands in reverse, and this being in reverse as well as this Ten of Pentacles in reverse, I feel like there's just kind of this overall sense of like, you know, waiting for something or waiting to receive, kind of having these expectations though on top of it, like waiting for your abundance to come in and then it's not there, or you're not seeing the evidence, or you're wondering if you did something wrong. Like that's kind of what I'm getting with this here, is like you have put in some work into something that you want to help move you forward as well and to kind of make your life take off, and it's just not happening that way, at least at this time. So it's like here you are in this Empress position of like waiting, being patient, receiving, nurturing, you're like doing your best to not grasp, I feel. But with these other energies, I feel like there's kind of like a sense of like disappointment, or like a overall vibe of like feeling like something has been a failure, even if that's not actually the case. In the bigger picture. So like, let's keep going, right? There's also this like discussion, I think, to be had about balance, because we have Temperance, which is like a major arcana energy about finding balance, but particularly finding balance through alchemy. And then we have the Six of Pentacles, which is also about balance, but balance between the external world and internal world. So, pardon. Okay. So again, Six of Pentacles energy is like about our relationship to others and to projects and to work and career. So it's like, how much am I giving others, giving my work, giving my, giving these seeds that I've planted? How much am I giving, and then how much am I receiving? And with it upright, I feel like when we're talking about this conversation about what you've planted in order to like cultivate some abundance and move forward in your life, and like, right? I think with the Six of Pentacles, it's kind of saying basically to me, you are giving and taking. You are balanced between, it's like I think it's just trying to say to you, you're not doing anything wrong. Like, so if there is a sense of frustration, like I did everything I was supposed to do, then this Six of Pentacles is like, yeah, you did. You did do everything you were supposed to do to grow these seeds and to cultivate this abundance. So it's not necessarily about your efforts, right? This like feeling of like lack of forward movement, or this feeling of like lack of results in what you're doing, it's not your fault. So then like but it's like, I don't know what this is for you. This is just energies. This could be relationships too, frankly, about like connections you're trying to nurture or tend to. So with the Temperance, that is in reverse. And I think this is talking about looking at a bigger picture in terms of why things feel stuck or why things feel like they're not growing. To me, temperance is about, again, I was talking about alchemy, so it's about taking disparate elements, like fire and water, for example, and kind of like blending them so that they work harmoniously, or so that they can kind of become something greater than the sum of their parts. With that, I kind of think about like an underwater volcano, right? Like that is like, to me, fire plus water actually equals earth. If that makes any sense, right? Like the fire lava coming out of the water kind of turns into this earthy element, which, I don't know. I think what I'm trying to say in a very weird way is that whatever it is you're dealing with or trying to grow or trying to, like, in terms of this abundance you're trying to cultivate, that isn't feeling like it's kind of giving you the results that you want, I think it's kind of asking you to, like, not look at, like, the what you're doing, but maybe the what you're putting into it. For example, if we're talking, like, an easier metaphor is maybe baking, right? And it's like, okay, I followed all the ingredients, I followed all the instructions on the recipe for this, right? And it like, my cake didn't rise or something, or it didn't fully bake, or it got burnt, and it's like, why? And so then it's like, to me, Six of Pentacles is saying, you're giving everything to this that you need to give, so why don't you look at the conditions, the elements of the larger picture of what you're dealing with. For example, if you're baking on the top of a mountain, the altitude's different, so you have to, like, make the oven different. I mean, it's such a weird analogy or metaphor, but I'm channeling messages. So I think likewise, it's like, if we're talking about, like, planting, it's like, okay, I tilled the soil, I watered them, I made sure that they were in sunlight. But then it's like, well, look at the condition of the soil, right? Like, what, it's not your fault. Like, it wasn't something you did about the soil that is making these plants not grow, but what are the elemental aspects of what you're trying to build that are not in harmony? So to try to make that even more concrete, I think what I would say is like in a movie, right? You wrote the script and you like got all the locations, you did all the stuff, and like, it's just something about it isn't working, and it's like not feeling right? And it's like not moving forward. Again, there's something dead about the project that's like, oh, it had so much life when I first came up with this idea, but now it feels like the whole thing isn't working now. But I did everything right. Like, I did everything I was supposed to do, that I was in control of. And so with, like, temperance in reverse, not to blame the actor, but, like, it could be that someone was just miscast for the role, right? And you need to keep looking for the right actor. And then once you get that one piece into place, kind of finding that element that is, like, keeping everything out of balance, I think you will find that all of this kind of is going to function and work and move forward and, like, be really great. I'm not saying every Taurus is making a movie. I think just, again, I've kind of, like, over-explained at this point, but I think the overall rating I'm getting is you've put a lot of, like, heart and effort into something, building something important to you that just doesn't feel like it's taking off in the ways that you had hoped, and you're waiting to receive kind of some benefits from what you've put work into, but there's something off about it. And the thing to look at is not, like, what you've done wrong, but what is it that was put into it, or what are the conditions of it that might be contributing to the lack of results. And I think once you kind of work on that elemental aspect of it, finding the right elements, kind of making some adjustments based on what is being put into it. So recasting, finding new soil, getting some manure for the soil to fertilize it. Changing the temperature on the oven. I think that's kind of all of the things that, to me, the Temperance in reverse is about, is like, where can I do some like slight alchemy in what it is my endeavor is to help create abundance. All right, well, that's a pretty conclusive message, I think. I got this Princess of Cups here, so let's just dive into another message, since that was 10 minutes and I'm doing about 20-minute readings, so we'll do another little 10-minute one for you. Okay, great. So we got the Star, Five of Swords in reverse, Eight of Swords, Eight of Cups in reverse, Five of Wands, Hanged Woman in reverse, and the Princess of Cups, as I was saying. So this second part feels more relational to me, about maybe not necessarily a love relationship, although perhaps, but it feels definitely more about just contending and dealing with others. For me, the Princess of Cups is a card of vulnerability, and I feel like the message overall here is to just, in general, right now, I think the message is like, be careful about who you share your vulnerability with. Why do I say that? Well, we got these two fives, and the fives are contractions, and we also got two eights. But so these fives, it's like, to me, this is conflict, like just kind of competition, but like competition that is just feeling like a little exhausting. And the Five of Swords is this card of like winning at all costs. So that, in a sense, like, it's a lose-lose situation. Like, even if you won, you basically lost because you either cheated or you were a sore winner. And I'm not saying that's you. I'm not saying that's your energy. And it's almost like, actually, that you are, to me, like, so tired of competition and so tired of, like, this hustle and so, like, kind of overwhelmed that it's, like, almost like you're just becoming paralyzed. Especially since we just talked about, like, maybe this project or endeavor that you're trying to get off the ground that isn't totally working. So I think there's, like, just this overall sense of frustration and, like, kind of, like, conflict, maybe inner conflict. And so with the Princess of Cups, I almost feel like you're feeling vulnerable, not in, like, a gooey, like, warm, loving way, but more in a, like, exposed, like, kind of scared kid way, right? Like, vulnerability doesn't always mean just, like, being open and honest with people. Sometimes vulnerability means, like, I feel really exposed and really, like, overwhelmed, and I feel really kind of like sensitive and like just, so that's kind of what I'm getting here with this energy, is you feeling like kind of like it's like your fight or flight type of things are being activated, and then you're going into like that paralyzed mode, because we got this Eight of Swords upright and we got this Eight of Cups in reverse, and Eight of Cups is about walking away from emotionally draining situations, and then the Eight of Swords is about being totally stuck. And so with these two here, it kind of feels like there's a part of you that wants to walk away from it all, that wants to just kind of throw your hands up into the air and say, I surrender, I give up. But then we have this Hanged Woman in reverse too, and this is kind of like a resistance to surrendering. So the overall vibe I'm getting from the second half of the reading is just kind of this, like, paralysis, right? Like, things have been challenging, frustrating up to this point, and you're like, okay, I'm working on this thing, it's important to me, maybe I have to, like, kind of reapproach, like, some of the elements I'm putting into it. But then, I think, as you're exploring just the basic work you do, there's also, like, other people in your orbit, right? So this could be, like, other people giving their 2 cents about what it is that you're doing and being, like, overly critical. And even though we talked about this Six of Pentacles being, like, it's not something you're doing wrong about this energy could be playing out as, like, other people telling you you're doing something wrong, which, like, creates maybe, like, this feeling of self-doubt, or just kind of like, should I just totally give up? the answer I would give you as a tarot reader based on these energies is no, don't give up. Just make that one little shift. And I think things will start flowing more harmoniously, right? It really can be an easy fix, but when no one else around you can see that, and when you're looking for it yourself, sometimes people can be critical in a way where they're trying to be helpful, but it can actually be really harmful, especially when we are in this super vulnerable place of like, kind of like, I've poured a lot of my heart and soul into something, and I'm trying to fix it or make an adjustment, but I'm getting just all of this like feedback that is just sort of creating chaos, and it's just kind of making me like freeze, right? Flight or fight. It's like kind of activating something in me that is making me just like freeze up, is again this vibe. And with the Hanged Woman in reverse, I'm just thinking like, I think you might be struggling with that question of like, should I just throw it all away? Like if you made a cake and you put it in the oven and it didn't even bake, really the answer is just change the temperature on the oven, but maybe a part of you is just feeling like, oh, maybe I just need to throw this in the trash and like forget about making a cake altogether. And that is not the answer to me at all. But I feel like, and also maybe the stakes are a little bit higher than a cake that you made. But I just feel kind of like you are maybe needing to create some boundaries around this kind of chaotic energy that might be present to protect your vulnerability. Because if you are feeling vulnerable and you are feeling kind of like this is important to you and this is something you feel sensitive about, that is super okay, right? It's okay to have like very strong feelings about the work you're doing and to have like an emotional investment in it. So knowing that, I think this is just saying to me, you don't have to run away, you don't have to feel stuck. I think, because we also got the star here, right? So I think the star is kind of like overall saying, look, this whole big picture, like, yes, this reading feels like it pertains to a project. It does. It's something you're working on, like job-wise, or could even be like a home renovation. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it feels like whatever it is, it's important to you on an emotional level. It's something you feel sensitive and vulnerable over. And there's obviously a lot coming at you at once about it. So with the star, I feel like this is like saying like, hey, this moment for you, Taurus, is really about you just being gentle with yourself, creating boundaries and space for yourself around your vulnerability so that you can hear yourself think, so that you can kind of like block out this chaos and not let the chaos just add more stress and paralysis to the equation. Like, and you don't need to throw it all up in the air and you don't need to give up. It's kind of more about finding the pause. It's about finding, again, it's about boundaries. It's about how you approach things. It's also about, I think to me, the healing is around not beating yourself up, not blaming yourself for what isn't going right. Not everything that doesn't go right in the world is because of your effort or something you did. I think that's an important message. Not everything is like, oh, if only I had done X, Y, or Z wrong. I think what we're learning is sometimes things go wrong not because of our give and take with the external world. Sometimes things go wrong because there was some misinformation or because there was just some kind of like adjustment that needed to be made. When I think about recasting an actor, I don't even think that's like condemning the actor who isn't right for the part. I think it's just that there's a match to be made, right? I mean, you would say that with like romantic relationships, right? Like just because two people don't work as romantic partners doesn't mean they're both terrible, irrevocably bad people. It just means that those elements don't mesh and like function well together. So I think that the overall vibe of October for you is kind of learning bigger life picture lesson of not taking everything so personally, creating space and boundaries for yourself to protect your vulnerability and to give yourself a moment of pause and inner reflection to think and find your own answers without becoming overwhelmed by the feedback of others, which is what I was talking about with all that stuff, right? Not letting other people cloud your process, trusting yourself enough to know that you can make shifts, adjustments, find the solution, right? It's kind of like, another thing I can say is like putting together a puzzle. You spend all this time putting together a puzzle and you're missing a piece. And maybe someone's like, oh, you must have, like, you know, it must be your fault that the piece is missing. And blah, blah, blah. And then you can obviously a puzzle, the stakes aren't that high again, but it just kind of feels to me like, instead of panicking, like that additional chaotic energy of criticism, feedback, someone panicking about the thing that just needs a little bit of a shift with this, right? So I feel like there's an importance of like protecting yourself from just kind of this heavy-handed, overly involved influence that actually has more to do with like people, I think, kind of almost wanting to see you fail a little bit, right? Like this sense of competition and this sense of winning at all costs, etc. And so if other people are helping you, like, they're like in the guise of helping you, but really their kind of intentions are to get you to give up and like throw your hands up in the air. It's like, well, don't do that. You got this. You're so close. It's just one little thing you need to do differently, get the right element, and you're gonna be golden. And so the star is this healing energy, but it's like the healing of this deeper pattern of just not trusting yourself and of being critical to yourself. Okay, great. And so then it's like this one project, the reason all of this is happening is not about your lack of abundance, but it's more about like this opportunity, this slight delay in your abundance is actually just giving you an opportunity to recalibrate your relationship to your own vulnerability so that you can really move forward in the future with that deeper sense of self-trust and kind of like those boundaries around like, I know what I need to do to get to the end of my goals. They're my goals. They're not other people's goals. So I don't need to let them interfere and make my process actually more difficult and more crazy and more chaotic than it ever needed to be in the first place. That's sort of the idea, the message, the vibe that I got for you, Taurus. So I hope it resonates. If not, I guess it wasn't your message, and I'll probably see you again in November. All right, bye.